NorCal, 209 King of Comedy. It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
I kind of wanted to talk about this because all three of us have somewhat something to do in the comedy community. You know, I like to call myself a comic. You've been in a lot of shows. You've been the hostess. Right? That's hostess? Yeah, not hostess. Right? So, you know, me and my pronouns.
Don't correct him, okay? No.
You throw your own shows, you're comic / promoter. And sometimes within the comedy community, we all have assumptions. Sometimes they're fixable, sometimes they're not. How do you personally address it? I wanted to bring it to camera because I'm glad that you came up on the show this episode. We had a disagreement,
right?
A little disagreement.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
Did you treat him like a doormat?
And obviously, it was fixable,
Yes.
right? If not, you wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I'm like, sometimes it's there's more to the story than you think. And I think we talked
Almost
about the
always.
story. And what had happened was, and if I get it wrong, you know, you'll have your turn to speak. Is normally I shoot a Valentine's Day show, and I ran out of a spot. It's a money making show. I went over to a venue that he normally throws shows, and it was my bad that I didn't call him and ask him and be like, "Hey, do you mind if I do a show?" In my mind, it was like I looked at the calendar. I didn't see that he was doing a show in or around that time, so it was cool. And I was like, the venue that I was supposed to use fell through. So they fell through. A lot of these venues do this last minute bullshit where they tell you, "Hey, it's cool," and then when you go bring the contract, they're like, "Nah, what I want is $1,500 up front, and I want to make all the money." And you're like, "Dude, I'm not throwing this show to make you money.
Yeah.
I'm throwing it to make us money. And if
Yeah.
it works for both of us, let's do it." So when that happened, it was like a last minute thing. I was trying to do it. It was my bad that I didn't. So I reached out to, because I went to one of your shows. I think it was Kabir's show.
Was it?
It was Kabir or Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you don't fuck with Roman?" And I go, "Man, I don't think he really likes me," right? And I go, "But it might be my own fucking fault." And I said, so after that show, I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna reach out," and I sent you a message on Facebook, and I was like, "Hey, man, do you mind meeting up? Would you like to have a sit down and let's talk about this?" And because I'm always the type of person that I want to talk to you personally. I want to know what's on your mind. I want to know what the problem is. Is it fixable? Sometimes it's not. Sometimes we just ain't going to see eye to
Right.
eye. But I'm going to give you that opportunity, because after that, then when I see you, then I'm going to be like, "Hey, I try to handle this like a gentleman,
Right.
but we can get in some gangster shit at that point," right?
Hey,
So-
holding on to doors and kicking the shit down.
yeah, I'll be fucking Bronx tail. I'll lock the door. Yeah, now you can't leave, motherfucker. Right? So, and I think you appreciated it. When
Absolutely.
we sat down, you was like, "Man, the reason I came is because I appreciated the fact that you reached out to me. I wanted to have dinner with you and hear what you had to say." And that was the whole thing. And I just feel like in this community, we have to have more of that in this comedy community, in any community. But
Right.
but because you know, all three of us kind of fuck with the comedy community, I just feel like that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I guarantee you somebody's gonna watch this episode and be like, "Why are those two talking?" And that's why, you know, I guarantee you it's
Yeah.
gonna happen. So I wanted to put it out
Yeah.
there to be like, man, sometimes you can talk to each other and get the shit out. And you know, I wanted to say that I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your time coming to have dinner with me and everything like that. Because sometimes, you know, I feel like we're two grown ass men, and
Right.
all that other shit is, let's leave it for the 20-year-olds
Yeah.
that want to fist fight over nothing. Because that's the way it was to me. So I guess I'll turn it over to you, and then we'll bring her into the conversation.
Yeah, that was the first venue where I was doing shows, and I think it was one of the women there that was kind of the manager, said that, yeah, somebody was trying to do a comedy show here. And when they said, yeah, a guy named Ric James was trying to do comedy, I'm like, because we actually met briefly at that venue. You came with, I think you were somebody's ride. Half comedians can't drive, right? They all have DUIs. So everybody's got a ride.
Yeah, I want to know.
So I think we actually might have met briefly there at Familia Bistro
Okay.
one time. And I was like, well, that's a name that's easy to remember. I'm pretty sure I met that guy here at one of my shows. and now he's trying to, start. I thought she made it sound like he wants to start doing shows here.
Oh.
That's in fact, I think that's what she told me. He wants to start doing shows here. I was like, what's
Miscommunication.
going on now?
And again, see, that's
Yep.
that's the
Couple
bigger
of extra
story
words, and that
Yeah.
changes everything. But so in fact, I think I mentioned off mic how when somebody crosses me, I just erase them and I never tell them why.
We just said that, yeah.
So that's and we hadn't spoken more than 3 words to each other.
Yeah.
Just hey, how's it going? And I think it might have even been Taylor Evans. I think you were his ride one night.
All
It
right.
might have been Taylor. So anyway, so all I knew was that this Ric James guy, is the guy that tried to
And I will tell you, I think, sorry to cut you off, but that time I drove Taylor because some other shit happened that night. But that was probably 2 or 3 years after I had asked to be at that place. Really? Yeah. That was a while.
Yeah,
after.
it's all so strange. So then I switched venues, and I just had you in my mind as the guy, he's on the do not book list. You know what I mean? There was on the name.
And I'm
name
still on that list.
and then I just, I just move on. And then I'm at the Post, and I got Kabir coming in, and all of a sudden, hey, do you know Rick? This is Ric James. And I turn around, I'm like, motherfucker, come into my room. And I think I said, hey, and that was it. I don't think I even looked your way the rest of the night.
I want to say I think it was Jeremy Curry that was booked that time. Kabir might have been there as well.
It was.
But it was Jeremy Curry.
It was Kabir and Jeremy.
And
Yeah.
I had told Jeremy, I go, I don't think this dude likes me or whatever. And I told him, I said, it might be my motherfucking fault. And I was like, but we'll see. So I'll go if you want me to go. Because the one thing that I'm not scared to go around anybody. Like if you got something to say, you got something to say, and then we'll have words about it, right?
Yeah.
So,
But I'm not, in that situation, I'm not gonna cause a scene. Or I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna be like, all right, I'm just gonna do my job.
Yeah.
And put on a good show. And then I think you left early. You weren't there. By the time the show was over, you were gone.
I think I left when Jeremy Curry went up.
That might have been
Because I went to go see everybody else that was actually funny that night.
Yeah.
So. No, I think he had a
And
decent
then I
set.
don't remember how much longer. It wasn't that much longer to where you reached out on Facebook.
Yeah.
On a message and said let's get together. And right away I'm like, free dinner, yeah. Let's get together and work this shit out.
Mexicans
Go to
game on.
Esmeralda's Mexican restaurant and rip it. Let's go there. That's my favorite restaurant. And we didn't
Shout out
really say
to
why.
Esmeralda's.
Yeah, great food. And I was pretty sure I knew the reason why.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, my God, if we can, because we're gonna run into each other. I'm not gonna refuse to do a show because Ric James is doing that show. I'm gonna go do that show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna, and you're producing, I'm producing. It's like I'm like, if we have an opportunity to deal with this, that's great. You were the bigger man to reach out because it hadn't even occurred to me to do, to reach out to you.
Yeah.
So I was really glad you did. So when we got together and we started talking, dude, I got to tell you, as soon as we sat down and started talking, I knew right away we're going to be friends.
Aw.
We're totally going to be friends. And, we had a great meal. We spoke like adults. We both appreciated that we were able to do this because there are so many people that would have been like, fuck that guy. I'm not going to, you know what I mean? There's plenty of that.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Especially
We're
in this
both grown-ass men that we can, and I'm so glad we did. And when you came on, when you came on to do my show, I think it was a last-minute thing. I gave you like a guest spot.
Yeah.
You came on and fucking crushed it, man. I couldn't. I'm like, I should have had this guy on my show and I couldn't wait to get you back to do a full set. And the couple times I've seen you, like, oh my God, I'm so glad that we got that behind us because the couple shows that I've seen you on, that guy had the fucking set of the night, man. That was great. I've got your shot glass on display in my office.
I've sold a lot of merch at your show. So yeah, man, I just wish that this community would do more of that sometimes. I can tell you honestly, I have a show this weekend, and there's going to be a comic that I reach out to because I feel like there's some tension there. So we'll sit down, we'll talk about it, and hopefully get over it. Because like I said, sometimes it's fixable,
Right.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
So with that said, you're an outsider looking in, right? You don't get on stage, but you get to meet all of us.
Yeah.
And I know, like, we talked about how he was going to be on a show today, and he was like, I think I know. Like, so people, you might not know them, but you know of them.
Yeah.
And because you've done shows with Dane, right? and then you've done shows with me. I don't know if you've helped Messy Marv do any
Yeah,
of his shows.
We've worked together with, like I said, with Lou.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, and Lou was like the biggest New Year's Eve party out here.
Yes.
So he always put together that, and yeah, I think I have seen you work the shows there. So looking in, do you think? And mind you, I think this is one of the things we said before too. I said, first off, to get on stage and get everybody's fucking approval, like you got to be an egomaniac to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think once you realize that, you got to calm it down. So do you see like it's just the alpha male problem in this community, or?
I think everybody has a little bit of ego in them, but learning how to tone it down a little bit is a part of maturity. You know what I mean? Like I said, back to learning how, like, where people are categorized in your life. Like if okay, you know what, I'm going to associate with this person, like you said, regardless, because we're in the same industry together. I can be cool with him, but like we don't see eye to eye on certain things that I just cannot agree with. You know what I mean? So it can be cool, be chill, and yeah, if you don't get along, I think it's still good that you guys do talk. You know what I mean? Try to figure it out, and if you guys can't come to terms with like being able to be friends and leave it as that.
Being able to at least agree that you can disagree.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because not everybody's going to be your friend.
Right.
I want to be everybody's friend. You know what I mean? But I'm not no damn people pleaser. You know what I mean? But if we get along, we get along. If we don't, we don't. Then okay, hey, what's up? How you doing? You know what I mean? I don't agree with certain things that you do, so I'm not going to be your friend outside of this zone.
Right.
You know, like if you work with somebody in the comic industry and you're like, okay, we're friends here and here only. I'm not going to come to your house and do a podcast. I'm not going to come to your house for dinner or barbecues or all this other stuff. So that ripple effect again. Who's allowed to come into your inner circle? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I'm glad. I love togetherness. You know what I mean? Like I said, like I'm all about that. And so I think you guys handled it well, and I think like everybody should at least have that kind of mindset where like, if there's an issue, we should talk, and like you said.
I think mostly it has to do with being in the same kind of career field.
Yeah.
Because like me and Kabir have talked about it, where I'm like, dude, we don't like the same shit. Like
yeah,
you like rock music, I
up.
like hip hop. You like being drunk, no.
Hey, they still opposites attract. You know what I mean?
So sometimes, but working like you said, I hate that feeling of not liking someone and then being like, where my first gut reaction is who's on the show sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
Where I'm like, ugh. But I hate that because I just want to perform. I just want to go do my thing. And, if we're friendly, cool. And if we can't be friendly, then you sit on that side of the bar, I'll sit on this side of the bar.
Exactly.
Like,
professional.
Yeah. So, and there's been none of that at any of my shows. I don't think I've ever, because like I said, anybody that I've had, I've gone up to them and said, "Hey, man, this was the problem. Let's try to take care of it and let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on because and there's been certain individuals too where I'm just like, we're gonna agree to disagree. Like, you just do you, I'll do me, and because there's been comics that I don't like that I've shot out to be like, hey, man, you might want to use this person because I think that's what stems from it. I think we spoke about it that day. Is sometimes a comic assumes, well, you don't like me,
right?
Or you, but not every comic is for every show.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I know comedy's subjective. I know that SF comics have a different kind of swag about them than East Bay comics. So maybe there's a show at Cobb's that I think you might do fucking perfect on. I'll be like, hey, hit up Kabir. He's looking for a comic, whatever.
Yeah.
Where there's certain comics where I think we think we're funny for everybody.
Right.
And no, you're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld isn't going to go watch. Jerry Seinfeld's crowd is not going to go watch Dave Chappelle.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you need to know that as a comic, and I think that's where a lot of assumptions start, man. So again, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and do this podcast and to listen to me and let me say that I was sorry because if I didn't say it then, I say it now on camera. Sorry for even thinking that it was cool to take your spot and not even holler at you. And that, like I said, as a man, I could do that. I could look at the camera and be like, man, I probably should have reached out to you first. So thank you guys for joining me for this episode. Roman, Sabrina, and it's your boy, Ric James. Thank you, guys.
Boy Charlie Murphy, my main man, Ric James. That's the one you think, the comedian Ric James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
please hit the subscribe button down low so you can see all new clips, all new episodes coming to you.